the recording light on again, we'll start. Well, thanks, Kit, for sharing tonight. And we just wanted to have an opportunity to open the floor for questions for you. I do have a question, actually, while people maybe are thinking of some questions that they might have for you. I'm just curious. I know a lot of times pandemics or those kinds of things can affect, I'm thinking of like the hill tribes in Thailand and really the families that you're often serving. So what are some of the unique challenges that you've seen with some of the girls with New Life Center because of this pandemic?
Our girls have experienced all sorts of challenges in their lives. So they have remarkable resilience. And during the pandemic, interestingly, it started when the girls were on their summer holidays. The school break takes place in March and April. So the residents had just gone up to their villages to visit family or friends if they had a safe place to go. We had just a few girls who were left in the residence. Tribal people have a long history of living off the land. So they were actually safer up in their villages because they were able to eat food from the land and go hunting in the forest. So they had enough to eat. And in fact, interestingly, many tribal people were bringing food from their villages down to the cities to help Thai people who were unable to access enough food. So they were really serving their neighbors around them in that way. Since then, Thailand has really instituted very clear and strict policies in terms of pandemic restrictions, and people followed them. And so therefore, in the last 100 days, Thailand has not experienced any transmission of COVID amongst the local population. Because they were all abiding by those recommendations. The only cases that they had in Thailand were foreigners who had come in and were in the state-sanctioned quarantine facility, and then they were treated. So Thailand has really handled this quite well. And so at this point, now that the schools have started back up, kids are able to go back to school in person with masks on. And Thailand is actually doing quite well. Unfortunately, they have still kept their borders closed, so I'm not able to return.
Interesting, thank you. Do you have any other questions for Kit?
This is a residential program. How long does a typical resident spend in residence there?
That's a really great question, and it really depends on the resident's needs. We have some girls who are with us for just a very short period of time, for 1 or 2 months when they're in need of transitional housing. We have residents who stay with us for 6 months to a year while they are waiting to testify against their trafficker. And then after their court case goes to court, sometimes they will be repatriated to their country of origin or to their village. And other residents really have ongoing needs that we can provide for because we have a psychological counselor on staff and a range of therapeutic activities and a social worker. So we also have residents who stay with us for some years because there really is no safe family member who can care for them. So we've had kids with us up to 5 or 6 years. It also depends on their educational goals. Each resident sets her own educational goal if she wants to finish the 9th grade, which is the mandatory minimum in Thailand, 12th grade, tech school, an associate's degree, or university. And once they graduate then from high school, if they decide to go on to an associate's degree or university, they do move out into the community to live near their schools, but they continue to be under the auspices of New Life Center as scholarship recipients. And our social worker continues to follow up with them on a regular basis and visits them in their places of residence near their schools. So there's sort of a transition care also as they move out into the community.
Do we have any other questions for Kit? Well, we really appreciate your time and sharing with us. I love hearing about, just being reminded, I guess, of how our creativity is an expression of us being made in the image of God, the ultimate creator. So it's very encouraging. And also, I feel like gives us maybe allowance for creative space in our lives. Often that goes down on the list if we're busy. So I appreciate you challenging us with that. So thank you so much for your time tonight. And thanks all for joining us.
Yeah, I think it's really important to prioritize that.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you, Kit.
Thanks, Kit.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Great to see all of you. And I appreciate your coming here this evening.